And we are back from an incredible UFC fight night. We went 10 wins and only 2 losses. And in terms of bet, we made profit there as well. Let's try to replicate those kinds of results here for UFC fight night. Burns versus Brady. First fight of the night is going to be one that we thought we were going to get last fight night with Ziggy Montas Ramaska versus Nathan Fletcher. And yes, I would be swapping picks for this one. Doing a bit more research into it, Nathan Fletcher has a damaged leg, and that's why he had to pull out, or suspected that's why he had to pull out. Wasn't medically cleared. Ziggy Montas Ramaska, he has good takedown defense, and I believe he has the better striking, so I'm leaning towards him. Not gonna play it because these guys are not proven at the UFC level. Moving on to the next fight, Andre Petroski versus Dylan Budka. Both wrestlers, both boring. It's not gonna be an entertaining fight by any means, but I think Andre Petroski is gonna get it done. Next fight is gonna be Jacqueline Amorim versus Vanessa Demopoulos. Jacqueline Amorim, she had a good performance in her last fight against Corey McKenna. Vanessa Demopoulos is an up and down fighter in her own right, but she's a wrestler. She maintains some level of dominance there. She's good at jiu-jitsu. It's going to be hard for her to get caught in a submission, and Jacqueline Amorim, she likes to fight off her back a bit too much for my liking. I think Vanessa Demopoulos maintains top position long enough and she manages to squeak out a decision victory. Judges tend to favor her as well, so I'm playing half a unit on Vanessa Demopoulos to get the job done. Andre Lima versus Felipe Dos Santos. And Dos Santos, he impressed me a lot more in his loss to Manel Kape than he did in his last victory. Andre Lima, the guy who's famous for getting the bite bonus, I think he gets it done this weekend, and I think he gets it done by decision. His striking has looked phenomenal, and Felipe Dos Santos, as much as I like him, he's known more for taking a beating. I think he takes a beating and goes the distance. Andre Lima wins. The play is going to be Andre Lima to win over 1.5 rounds. Next up, we have Gabriel Santos versus Yingzha, and I'll be honest, this is as much of a fade fight as you could possibly get. Gabriel Santos in the UFC has not proven to be UFC level, but he has fought some really good opposition. Yingzha, road to UFC, I believe, not proven at the UFC level as well. Leaning more towards the favorite on this one, because it's hard to judge him based off the opposition that he faced. So I don't think he's gonna have the UFC jitters. Yingzha, he definitely would. So lean Gabriel Santos. Don't place your money on it. Moving on to Isaac Dalgarian versus Brendan Murati. And this is as easy as it gets. I think Isaac Dalgarian is gonna win. The odds are heavily in his favor, so we're gonna have to fade it. And I think he gets a very early finish. Next fight is gonna be Chris Padilla versus Rangel, and I don't know anything about Rangel. He's a road to the UFC fighter, I believe, and Chris Padilla, he's a guy who's fought in the UFC a couple times. I'm leaning more towards the experience and the finishing ability of Chris Padilla. He's a very quality fighter from what I've seen so far. Again, I haven't seen much of Rangel. I'm playing half a unit on Chris Padilla. Next up, we have Trevor Peek versus Yanal Ashmoose. And I'm gonna be honest, Trevor Peek is not UFC level. He has so much power in those hands. And Yanal Ashmoose, he's a guy that's so low output. I think this fight would go to a decision, and I think the volume of output is gonna favor Trevor Peek to get it done by decision. Moving on, we have Matt Schnell versus short notice replacement in Cody Durden. I know a lot of you guys think I just love short notice replacements, but in this fight, Cody Durden is definitely the better fighter. The sad thing is he's coming off a knockout loss, and he's coming out a bit too quickly. But Matt Schnell, I don't rate him that much as a fighter. He has suffered some brutal knockouts in his own right, and Cody Durden has got that wrestling pressure to put Matt Schnell down, keep him down, and win a decision. He could even get the finish because Matt Schnell is not that durable. Moving on, we have Kyle Nelson versus Steve Garcia. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys here. If the fight goes longer, it favors Kyle Nelson. But I favor Steve Garcia and his finishing ability. I've favored him in every single one of these fights while betting on him or having this YouTube channel, and it's played off very favorable for me. I think Steve Garcia finishes him relatively early. The play is going to be Steve Garcia to win by knockout. Kyle Nelson, if you are getting finished by Billy Q, you are not going to last against Steve Garcia. Next up, we have Jessica Andrade versus Natalia Silva. Jessica Andrade, former champion. Natalia Silva, potential future champion. I think Natalia Silva is going to get it done. Her striking is so good, and she's managing to keep her distance against fighters such as Andrea Lee. That striking performance against Andrea Lee was sensational. I think she picks apart Jessica Andrade and wins by decision. Now, on to the main event of the evening. Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. And I think the underdog has some value here. Sean Brady, his game plan is quite simple. Take you down to the ground and try to maul you. Good luck with doing that against Gilbert Burns. Once you take him down to the ground, you're going to have to worry about his jiu-jitsu. I know his jiu-jitsu hasn't been proven that much in the UFC, but you're going to see it this weekend. And if it's a stand-up fight, I think Gilbert Burns wins easily. So, all indications point towards Gilbert Burns getting it done, and that's where I'm placing my money. Half a unit on Gilbert Burns. All the plays are going to be half a unit Gilbert Burns, Steve Garcia to win by KO, and then we got Chris Padilla, half a unit on him, Andre Lima to win over 1.5 rounds, and then the last play is going to be half a unit on Vanessa Demopoulos. And these have been my picks, predictions, and plays for UFC Fight Night Brady versus Burns. Be sure to leave a like, comment what you think of it down below, subscribe, follow me on TikTok, follow me on Twitter, support the channel on the Patreon, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, game time.